The Indiana Fever walked into Los Angeles on Wednesday night, carrying momentum, expectations, and a roster many analysts consider a legitimate playoff contender. They walked out with a 14-point deficit, a stat sheet full of red flags, and a fresh set of questions about their identity as a team. The Los Angeles Sparks handled the Fever 106-92, and while the final scoreline suggests a competitive contest, the game itself was rarely close in feel. Los Angeles set the tone in the second quarter, never truly relinquished control, and by the fourth quarter the outcome felt like a formality. For a Fever team built around the gravitational pull of Caitlin Clark and a deep supporting cast, this was not the kind of performance anyone in Indiana expected. It was a game defined by a hot start that evaporated, a defense that could not find answers, and a superstar who never got comfortable. Here's a full breakdown of what happened, why it happened, and what it means going forward for both franchises thought Indiana actually won the opening quarter. 25-21, and for a brief stretch, it looked like the Fever were about to run away with the game. Their ball movement was crisp, their outside shots were falling, and Caitlin Clark was setting up teammates with the kind of vision that makes her one of the most dangerous playmakers in the league. It was the version of the Fever that beats good teams on the road. That version disappeared almost as quickly as it arrived. The second quarter belonged entirely to Los Angeles. The Sparks outscored Indiana 27-16 in the period, turning a 4-point deficit into an 8-point lead by halftime. The shift wasn't subtle. Los Angeles simply started making shots at a far higher clip while tightening up defensively. And Indiana's offense, so fluid in the first 10 minutes, started to bog down into isolation possessions and forced look stop. By the third quarter, the game had fully tilted. The Sparks put up 34 points to Indiana's 30, stretching what had been a competitive contest into what became, at one stage, a 14-point cushion, their largest lead of the night. Indiana had a chance to make a push in the fourth, and to their credit, they outscored the Sparks' bench-heavy fourth-quarter lineup, 21-24 in the final period. But the deficit was too large and the clock too unforgiving. The final margin, 106-92, reflected a game Los Angeles controlled for 3 full quarters. The single biggest number in this game is shooting efficiency, and it wasn't particularly close. The Sparks shot 50.6% from the field for the game, including a scorching 45% from three-point range on 20 attempts. Their effective field goal percentage sat at 56.3%, and their true shooting number climbed to 60.4%, marks that reflect not just makes, but efficient shot selection married with quality looks. Indiana, by contrast, shot 42.9% from the field and had to fire up 34 three-point attempts to hit 11 of them. A 32.4% clip that speaks to a team searching for offense rather than generating it organically. The Fever's true shooting percentage landed at 53.3%, more than 7 points below their opponents. In a league where possessions are precious and margins are thin, a gap of that size over 40 minutes is often the entire ball game. Los Angeles also dominated the paint, outscoring Indiana 60-38 in points in the paint while converting an eye-popping 77.3% of their attempts at the rim. The Fever, for their part, generated only 38 points in the paint on a much lower volume, a sign that their offense increasingly relied on the perimeter rather than pressuring the basket. When a team is out-efficiency both inside and outside, there is very little room left to win the game. If shooting efficiency was the headline problem, turnovers were the undercurrent that made the night even more difficult for Indiana. The Fever committed 17 turnovers compared to Los Angeles' 12, and the Sparks made them pay in a way that changed the entire complexion of the contest. Los Angeles scored 22 points off Indiana's turnovers, nearly triple the 8 points Indiana managed to generate off Sparks' giveaways. That differential fed directly into transition offense, where the game was essentially decided. The Sparks scored 27 fast break points to Indiana's 4, an almost unthinkable gap at the professional level. Los Angeles converted 11 of 16 fast break opportunities, 68.8%, turning lob ball mistakes and defensive rebounds into easy buckets before Indiana's defense could set. Indiana, meanwhile, managed just a single made fast break basket on 6 attempts. A team that lives and dies by structured half-court execution simply could not keep pace with an opponent, scoring in bunches in the open floor. Second chance opportunities told a similar story of inefficiency for Indiana, though less dramatically. The Fever actually out-rebounded the Sparks on the offensive glass, grabbing 12 offensive boards to Los Angeles 7, and generated 15 second-chance points compared to the Sparks' 13. It was one of the few statistical categories Indiana won on the night, but it wasn't nearly enough to offset the turnover and transition disparity. Individually, the Sparks got exactly the kind of balanced, veteran-led performance that wins games on the road against tough opponents. Nneka Ogwumike led all scorers with 24 points on 9 of -19 shooting, adding 8 rebounds and 5 assists while playing with the kind of poise that has defined her career. She was efficient inside and out, hitting 2 of 4 from three-point range, while still doing the bulk of her damage in the paint. Right behind her was Rae Burrell, who quietly put together one of the most efficient scoring nights of the season, 22 points on just 15 shot attempts, connecting on 9 of them for a scorching 60% clip, including 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. Burrell's plus-minus of +12 was among the best on the floor, and her ability to score in a variety of ways, off the dribble, in transition, and spotting up gave Indiana's defense no easy answers. Nneka Ogwumike added a near double-double with 21 points and 9 rebounds, continuing to be one of the most versatile front-court weapons in the league. While veteran guard Erica Wheeler chipped in 12 points and 6 assists off the bench, helping keep the offense humming even when the starters rotated out. It was, in essence, a full team effort. 5 different Sparks players scored in double figures or came close to it, and the bench outscored Indiana's reserves' impact in terms of overall efficiency, even though Indiana's bench technically scored more raw points. The most alarming storyline out of Indianapolis will center on Caitlin Clark's night. The reigning face of the WNBA's growth finished with just 9 points on 4 of 12 shooting, including a rough 1 of 6 from three-point range. She did contribute 3 assists and pulled down 4 rebounds, but her turnover total to 4 giveaways, combined with her shooting struggles, resulted in a game score of just 2.1. By far one of her quieter nights of the season, her plus-minus of -15 was the worst mark on the Indiana roster. It wasn't a total offensive collapse for the Fever, though. Kelsey Mitchell was outstanding, pouring in a game-high 29 points on 9 of 18 shooting, while connecting on 5 of 9 three-point attempts, a 55.6% clip that kept Indiana within shouting distance for large stretches. Lexi Hall added 14 points, and Demir Stanis was efficient off the bench with 12 points on just 6 shots. Indiana's bench actually outscored the Sparks reserves 36-15, which underscores just how quiet the starting group was outside of Mitchell. The core issue for Indiana wasn't a lack of scoring punch in isolated moments. It was the inability to generate consistent, connected offense as a unit, especially with their franchise player unable to find any rhythm. When Clark struggles to create advantages, the entire offensive structure around her tends to lean too heavily on secondary scores to manufacture points in isolation, which is precisely what happened for long stretches on Wednesday. Advanced metrics reinforce what the box score already suggests. Los Angeles posted an offensive rating of 114.2 against a defensive rating of 100.8, giving them a net rating comfortably in positive territory. Indiana's numbers were essentially the inverse, an offensive rating of 100.8 paired with a defensive rating of 114.2 in a league where net rating differentials of even 3 or 4 points can separate winning teams from losing ones. A full 13-plus point swing in the opposite direction represents a fairly emphatic gap in performance on both ends of the floor. Indiana's defense, in particular, struggled to contain dribble penetration and cutting actions, evidenced by the Sparks shooting nearly 78% at the rim. Foul trouble compounded matters. Indiana committed 22 personal fouls compared to the Sparks' 18, sending Los Angeles to the free throw line 20 times, where they converted 17 of them at an 85% clip. Boil it all down, and the Fever's loss comes from a handful of connected issues. A second-quarter defensive collapse that let Los Angeles seize control. A wide gap in shooting efficiency that never closed. A turnover problem that directly fueled the Sparks' transition game. And a quiet night from their most important player at exactly the moment they needed him to be aggressive. None of these problems are new for teams that struggle on the road against confident opponents. But seeing them all surface in the same game against a Sparks team playing with genuine cohesion made the final margin feel inevitable rather than surprising by the fourth quarter. Both teams will have chances to respond quickly as the WNBA schedule continues to churn through a condensed summer slate, and how each franchise adjusts in the coming days will say a great deal about their true standing in an increasingly competitive Western and Eastern landscape. For now, though, the headline stands, the Sparks blew out the Fever. And Indiana has real,